Hey, Yelle here. I'm hosting a sustainable living exhibition right now, and I am the host of Home Swap Stories. I go into different New Yorkers' homes and I interview them about how they live sustainably at home.
And I'm Kiana, host of the Climate with Kiana podcast, where I talk to people all about climate solutions and how they approach them with a framework of joy and justice. And excited to be here talking to people all about how they live sustainably.
How do you live sustainably at home?
I'm Vanessa. So Vanessa is from Colombia. I'm from Colombia. I am she, her, and I am a plant-based chef, a culinary educator, and also I do have a home bakery.
Amazing. Music to my ears. Plant-based chef, home bakery, speaking my language.
Definitely. Food is my love language.
I love it. And I had the pleasure of just tasting your delicious baked goods.
Yeah.
So yay. What does sustainable living mean to you?
If I can talk about from where I am, it's like the plant-based, I will say it's just to support the food system. Right? But if I talk as a vegan and as an animal activist, I'm gonna talk about support the animal rights, right? And as an environmentalist, I'm gonna talk about the planet, right? So just to reduce my footprint in so many ways. But all of those are just together and they complement each other, several ways to composting here, and we are so fortunate about it. It comes to, before I go to compost, I try to reduce the waste with the food. So I use the stacks on some things. I do my broth. I save my, everything that I can do. And if it just happened that sometimes I have some leftover, I just do a big pot of food or stew, a soup, and then I just bring it to a community fridge. And that also for me is sustainable. It is helping my community, and it is giving this message of there is a plant-based food that you can try, you can enjoy, and I don't need it in my fridge too. So yes, that comes from there, but also it comes about what I'm using to clean, what I'm using to clean my table, what I'm using to wash my dishes. So I just try to do the best swaps for that. Currently I am using Blue Land, which I loved. So that's amazing. If it comes to eating, so I have my napkins that are reusable, and I just go to the laundry and I put it there. So little things that definitely makes a change in the kitchen.
All great ways to be sustainable in the kitchen. Since you are a chef, do you have a favorite dish to cook? I'm just curious.
I just love stews. I'm just so in love to make a good stew with a bean, even if it's chickpeas or legume, different things that can give me fiber and protein, because I am just so focused in how I am healing myself through food. So I love to have this healthy and power play that I just balance, but it's also full of flavor. So it's so easy to make a stew, but it is also such a magic. I feel like a witch. So it's okay, what spicy do I feel like today? Do I want something maybe Mediterranean, or do I want something Italian, or maybe curry? It's so easy, and it's just I feel like a witch.
I love it, making magic in the kitchen.
Literally.
Amazing. Let's. I have some facts here. Some are about plant-based eating,
Awesome.
But they cover a bunch of topics. If you want to grab one or two, we can
absolutely.
Just
let's go for
learn something and have a little discussion.
So these ones say to support the billions of animals raised. I love it. It's just to me. What? Yeah. So to support the billions of animals raised annually for human consumption, 1/3 of the planet's ice-free land and nearly 16% of global fresh water are used for raising livestock. Furthermore, 1/3 of global grain production is used to feed livestock. That is I love this topic because I feel that is one of the biggest one when you want to talk about how we are just using animals and abusing the land, right? Just to grow them, and at the end, for people to eat them, and just all the environment impact that it contains. But it's also, we can just cut that bridge, right? That the bridge is the animals, and just go forward and just plant things and use that land for like beans, soy, corn, veggies, and it is gonna be much better for the planet, right? It's gonna be much better for the waterways. And I love this topic.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. We could feed more people, reduce a lot of the foodborne illnesses that come from factory farming, and from an ethical workers' rights perspective and animal rights perspectives and environmental. It's such an intersectional topic in terms of ways to help us live more sustainably, both, in what we eat and in our larger systems.
Hello, my name is Ana Anu. I am an ecofeminist artist. I'm a curator, and I have a long background in sustainability consulting.
Amazing. Oh, yeah. I'm so excited to learn about your thoughts. What does living sustainably mean to you?
Considering future generations, period. Considering future generations and trying to live with as light a footprint as possible to pass on as healthy of an earth as we possibly can.
That's so beautifully put. How do you find joy in practices in your own life at home where you are choosing to live sustainably? Like, do you have different practices at home that bring you joy? Mindful and intentional?
Oh, I'm such a homebody.
Me too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm an herbalist. I'm a kitchen witch. I love getting into the kitchen and making a bunch of things. I have a ton of plants and oils and butters and salts. And my favorite thing to do, like once a month, is to pull some recipes together, get myself whatever I need to stay healthy that season, make a little potion, a tincture, a salve, whatever. And it's really fun. I mean, I have a little library, right, of plants, and it's really fun to both like get to know the plants over time in this relationship of making and creating, but also to kind of see how the different plants work together and which ones want to come together for different projects.
So do you grow a lot of plants at home, and what does that look like in terms of caring for them?
Yeah, I have. It's harder in New York. I usually grow some herbs in my windowsill. But I'm very lucky because I've lived on in some spaces with spacious land, so I've collected over the years. And then I had the privilege of doing the zero waste certification for mountain rose herbs in Oregon a few years back. And that really exposed me to a lot of beautiful herbs, minerals that I had not worked with before. So I have a surplus thanks to mountain rose herbs as well.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
There's a connection to both the earth and the self-care element. And I know you mentioned being like an ecofeminist at the beginning of this. Yeah. How do you see that come into your kind of self-care and home practices?
Okay, good questions. I thought you were going to say, how does it come into my artistic practices? But I guess it's both.
You can answer that too. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, so much of my work is based on incredible elder feminist luminaries' work. I've worked for the last several years learning from and supporting where I can the work of the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers. I think they have wholly reshaped my approach to sustainability and my creative practice. And then all these other incredible elder artists, I'm thinking of like inspirations of mine like Cecilia Vicuña, Yoko Ono, that have really kind of repositioned me and my life's work. And so I'm thinking a lot about, what it means to take care of younger generations, and obviously in learning with these incredible elders, how do I integrate everything that I've learned and had the privilege to sit with them to learn into my life. And of course it shows up in my art practice. That's the fun part. But it humbles my daily life, and it keeps me oriented around what really matters. And living simply, living sweetly is the way, right?
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing all of that.
My name is Sheila McMenamin, and my pronouns are she, her. And I've been in New York City for about 5 years. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland.
Amazing. And what does sustainable living mean to you?
It, for me, is, I equate it with simple living. And for me, trying to live a life of simplicity is a life that makes me feel purposeful and more attuned to my environment and to this earth and to myself. So when I seek to live sustainably, it's usually almost out of a form of reverence for the present moment and for this planet, and then also as perhaps like a form of defiance against the current status quo that we find our society wrapped up in.
And do you have a favorite sustainable practice at home that brings you joy?
Gosh, I would say I think my number one most joyful practice, it's probably composting. And I think I've gotten really good over the years at grocery shopping in a way that's going to limit the amount of stuff I'm putting into compost anyway. But I almost like the thrill and the challenge of using all of my produce, using everything in the fridge, looking in the fridge and knowing that I've done the best that I can to like not produce more plastic trash or create more food waste. So yeah, like this morning I took out my compost before coming to this event and it felt very fitting. So yeah, to me that's joyful. Yeah, and it feels like connecting back to the earth and what it produces. And so instead now, without that temptation and the ease of purchasing and having something delivered within 24 hours, instead I just like make a little list in my phone or on my notebook, and I'll be like, I could use a new like planter pot in my bedroom, or I could use a new wooden ladle in my kitchen. And I truly find that the more I like write it down, the more I like see it out in the wild. So if I know like I'm looking for a new wooden cutting board, like the city delivers and provides, like I'll see one out on a stoop. I'm like, cool, oh my God, that's what I'm looking for. Or like I'll see it at a thrift store, and it's made me be more patient with my purchases, and then it's made me value my purchases more. So yeah, for me, it's been like taking stock of what do I genuinely need, what do I want, and how do I like put it out there to see what could get brought to me either for free, used, borrowed, on loan, anything like that.
That's so great. Yeah. Being more mindful about consumption, right? And having that awareness of, do I really need this? Am I going to use it and cherish it? And that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say with that is I think there's an unfortunate narrative that's associated with a simple lifestyle that like we are forbidding ourselves from enjoying life. And I actually think it's exactly the opposite. I find that the more intentional I can be about what I do buy and what I do bring into my apartment, for example, or like how I dress, I find it to be more exciting and thrilling and joyful and pleasurable because I did it with intention. And I don't think that we necessarily need a scarcity mindset when it comes to more sustainable living.
Okay, I have this bowl here of fun facts that might not be so fun. That's not what I'm calling them. They cover a range of topics. They're just facts about different things around homes and some challenges we might need to address through sustainable living. So feel free to just grab one or two and we can chat about it briefly.
Okay, this one's a long one. Okay, Americans on average spend approximately 87 to 90% of their time indoors. where the concentrations of some pollutants are often 2 to 5 times higher than typical outdoor concentrations.
Interesting, right?
I did not know that.
Yeah, so there's a number of reasons that indoor air quality can be worse than outdoor air quality. And I think what's cool about the passive house we're here in today is a huge part of this house's design is like really excellent ventilation to help have good air quality. But basically, air can be more stagnant indoors if you don't have really well designed ventilation systems. Outdoor pollutants come in, get stagnant, and then you can have lots of off-gassing from like volatile organic chemicals in furniture, in cleaning products, right? There's like so many different sources of toxins. So on the one hand, get outside.
Get outside.
But also like open your windows, make sure you have airflow.
Yeah.
And I think it's really about like how do we examine our relationship with having healthier indoor living spaces and making intentional choices to assess the quality of our home environments and ensure it's as safe and healthy as it can be. And also get outside.
Yes.
Get outside.
Get outside.
Enjoy nature.
Absolutely.
Breathe the fresh air.
I feel like one of my bigger takeaways about the climate crisis right now is like, as especially the Western world, but like as we become more sedentary and spend more time indoors, the less connection obviously we'll feel to the outdoors. And then I think the less understanding we have of it, and therefore we won't quite be noticing how much it's changing. And so I think the value alone in getting outside for your mental health and your physical health, but also just to like maintain connection so you can understand the gravity of the climate crisis.
Would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Kim Asharia. I have been dabbling in climate things for quite some time from like a unique angle. My background is in like the space world and talking about keeping our space environment clean and leveraging space technology to monitor and mitigate climate change. So fun things.
That's amazing. I need to learn more about that. So I know that's not really today's topic, which is at home. Space is kind of the furthest thing. But I'm like, wow, space.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm so used to thinking about climate advocacy in such like this kind of far out meta way that diving into ways to integrate that into my daily life is a really exciting thing to do.
I love that. Saving the planet all the way from your home, all the way to outer space.
Range.
Beautiful. True range. Amazing. So what does sustainable living mean to you?
So to me, sustainable living means doing the little things that I can to make sure that I'm contributing to this big movement. I think for me, it's really important to remind myself that just because I'm doing a task that seems so small in comparison to the scale of the problem we're trying to tackle does not mean it doesn't have true impact. And that's something I feel like I have to just remind myself about, because I think if you tell yourself that what you're doing is small, it makes it so easy to just skip out on engaging in those like vital habits that contribute towards the big movement.
Let's talk a little bit about kind of fashion and sustainability. This event we're at, it's so cool. We have a lot of really amazing sustainable things going on, and there's a lot of great sustainable fashion happening upstairs.
Yes.
Whether it's like really cool upcycled original designs or, you know, vintage pieces. So I got inspired seeing all of those pieces. How are you thinking about integrating sustainability into your wardrobe?
I just have so much fun with it. I think it's so much more fun to engage in sustainable practices when it comes to like styling your wardrobe. I feel like there's just so much creativity involved, you know, like in upcycling, which is something I really want to dive deep into this winter, is really figuring out how to transform these pieces that I see so much potential in, whether I'm at like a clothing swap or just going thrifting, and being able to use my own sense of like wonder and delight to make pieces of clothing that seem like they don't have much excitement or like razzle dazzle to them to like spark them up.
You got sparkles in your hat. I see the razzle dazzle.
I do, but like, you know, sometimes you see like a piece and you're like, it's not quite there, but maybe I can figure out how to do that. And I've just been procrastinating, I feel like, so long on diving into that. But what I love about being in these kinds of environments is that you really see like the myriad of ways that you can move or create change with a piece. And like talking to folks who are actually like doing that, like Rosie, who's upstairs right now, I mean, it just leaves me feeling so inspired. That, and also like I enjoy the hunt of like going thrifting and going to all the clothing swaps and like stumbling on gorgeous pieces that you know but no one else is gonna have, which is a really great feeling too.
Absolutely. Are there any other sustainable practices at home, could be wardrobe related or otherwise, that bring you joy?
Right now, I am actively trying to explore and try new things. I'm trying to be mindful of like making sure that I actually use all the food that I buy. I think it's so easy to waste groceries. And I have gotten really creative with like recipes and things to like prevent myself from having excess waste. And I've been inspired by folks who are engaging in like the compost side of things. That's something I haven't dabbled in as much, just because for me it's felt like a little bit daunting. But I am enjoying right now the journey and process of being vulnerable and acknowledging my weak points and the things that I've avoided dabbling in, and trying to figure out how I can slowly start to tap into these ways of existing that other folks are doing to engage in like sustainable home practices. And so I'm enjoying being a little bit of like a novice in some regard. I think the fashion thing felt so easy, and also when it comes to like picking out home pieces, most of the stuff that I have in my home, it's like stuff that I found like on the street, or things that have been gifted to me, or things that old roommates have left behind, and things that I've gotten for free off of like Facebook Marketplace. So I feel like in that regard, like I feel confident in how I like walk the walk on that sense. But there's always just so much room for growth, and I'm okay with admitting that like I have a lot of areas to grow in, and I'm grateful that I have people to learn from in that way.
Let's close out by this bowl of fun facts that are not very fun.
Okay, we can spice them up.
We'll just do one, chat about it, maybe a second one.
Okay. Ooh. Not very. I see what you mean. Globally, the fashion industry produces around 92 million tons of textile waste annually, and I'm so glad that I've hardly bought any clothes in the past year, and it's been way easier than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Outside of like costume pieces, I'm a singer, and so I do need to buy like some unique pieces for certain performances, but like when I see these numbers, I'm like, whoo, thank God I am doing what I can to make this not a thing.
Reaffirms that these choices matter, because we're grab another, I'll take that one, another not fun fact.
Not fun facts. Let's see. Ooh, okay. Oh, Lord. Indoor concentrations of some pollutants have increased in recent decades due to such factors as increased use of synthetic building materials, furnishings, personal care products, pesticides, and household cleaners. Now, this is very much a not fun fact. And again, an area that I actually would say I struggle in. I think I am, I'm frugal. I go for the cheapest option, which is what most people do when it comes to buying some of these like necessity kind of items. And I think having these kind of facts thrown in your face they're not so fun, but they're so important, because without acknowledging the realities of why those skimping on certain products and not being mindful about what you're utilizing in your home, acknowledging why that matters. Again, it makes you feel so much more inclined to actually act and do something about it instead of living in the dark. Living in the light can be a really scary thing to do, But that's how we make progress, is by acknowledging where we're struggling and where we can grow. And thank you for sharing this non-fun fact with me, because when I go do my shopping for the house, I'm gonna be more mindful because of this.
Hi, I'm Jess. I'm the founder of Simply Sustainable. We're an online community on sustainable living. So we provide a lot of education and resources on all topics of sustainability, whether it's finding a green job, fast fashion, navigating fast, slow fashion, sustainable living swaps, you name it, we got it.
You do it all. So what does sustainable living mean to you?
Yeah, I really think it comes down to living your values. There's so many people that care about climate, they care about environmentalism, but people don't really know what they can actually do as one person. So there is a lot of sense of apathy, which I totally get. I think we all experience eco-anxiety from time to time. And so I think sustainable living, it's really just a term for integrating environmentalism into our everyday lives, integrating sustainability into our habits, our choices, like kind of behaving and choosing in a way that aligns with our values and having that intention in mind.
Let's talk about sustainable fashion. We've had a lot of great things happening at today's event around sustainable fashion. How are you thinking about it when it comes to your own wardrobe and stylistic choices and expression?
I love this question. So I really think it comes down to, like, there's a framework, like a 3-part framework in which I think about how I relate to my wardrobe and the relationship I have to clothes and my wardrobe and fashion in general. And so I think the first part is receiving. And so this basically means like thinking about what kind of clothes are we taking in? How are we taking in those clothes? So how are we consuming? And you know, there's ways to do that sustainably, whether it's going to a swap, prioritizing thrifting over buying something new. And then of course also purchasing from local, sustainable, like more artisanal, independent makers. And so it's coincidentally like been helpful in terms of sustainability because I don't feel the need to consume or like purchase clothes because I'm just on a budget right now. So like that's been helpful. And I think also one thing that's been helpful, I've been challenging myself to do like a no new clothes challenge. And so just getting creative with what I already own and what I already have in my closet. So that's sort of the first piece. And then the second step is caring for our clothes. So now that we have our clothes, we've thought about and been intentional about how we're bringing stuff in, then we have our wardrobe. How can we mindfully take care of the items that we have and love them and really appreciate them so that way they last a long time and we don't feel this need to constantly turn and constantly resort to micro trends. And so there's a few tips that, you know, everyone can implement to just care for their clothes. So one of them is how we wash and dry our clothes makes a big difference. So I don't know if you probably know, but I don't know if like a lot of people know that most clothes are made of plastic. And every time we wash and dry our clothes, the pieces of plastic deteriorate. So like our clothes get worse because like the material is literally deteriorating. And then also those microplastics are being released into waterways and polluting our planet. And so if we can just wash and dry our clothes less, like I think that's like a good place to start. If it's accessible to hang dry clothes, like that's something that I always like recommend to like my community and people in our cohort. And it's funny because like just speaking to a lot of other people about this, it seems like Americans are really the only ones that like
use dryers. Yes, I know. This is I have feelings about this for sure. I hang dry my clothes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, occasionally I use the dryer, but definitely it's like an interesting cultural divide between Americans and other cultures where everyone just hangs their clothes up to dry, and it's normal.
That's normal.
But yeah, no, the microplastics from washing is huge. I've been talking about that today in some of the other conversations. I had some facts in this bowl about this. Yeah, it's a huge, huge challenge, but I think you've listed a lot of tangible actions you can take to like minimize some of that impact. So thank you for that. It's super helpful.
Yeah.
Let's dive into some not fun facts. There might be like hopefully one or two positive ones sprinkled in there, but feel free to grab one, read it, we'll chat about it.
Wow, this is
point? Love it.
perfect.
Okay.
The average American throws away approximately 81 pounds of clothing annually, contributing to a total of 26 billion pounds of textile waste in the US alone each year. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a massive amount of waste, and that usually ends up in landfill or incinerated or just like in the ocean.
Yeah. And I think also like one thing, like one lesser known fact is I think a lot of people think that they can donate their clothes to thrift shops and like Goodwill and just out of sight, out of mind, right? We're like, oh, we're doing a good thing because we're donating to a thrift shop. And like while the intention is there, only like less than 10% of clothes in thrift shops actually get sold. And so 90% of those clothes are shipped off to the global south, and they're really impacting like local communities there and making a huge environmental impact. And so I think that, you know, we really have to first think about our consumption habits. So before we like bring something in and like make a new purchase, it's so important to like be intentional and think like, am I really going to have this forever? How long is this going to last me?
No, absolutely. It's a massive problem. And as they say, there is no away. Like the idea that you just take something that's out of sight, out of mind, like it's got to go somewhere on this earth, and someone has to deal with it. And there's just not enough space to deal with all this waste.
Yeah.
Let's do another fact.
Cool. All right, so
Another fashion one? Okay.
The fashion industry is responsible for 20% of global water waste.
Ooh. That's a lot. That's more than I would expect without hearing that number. That's a lot of water consumption.
Yeah. I mean, if you just think about like how much it takes to manufacture like all of these cheap goods, then yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense. But these facts are really like putting it into perspective.
I'm MJ, and I'm a violin maker, so I just do woodworking and stuff like that.
That's amazing! Wow, I don't know much about making violin.
It's a funny job. I mean, it's a job that, you know, you're working with wood all day and like natural materials, and then it's a type of thing that makes you think about where does things come from and stuff like that. So
how are you seeing sustainable living showing up in your life day to day? Do you have a favorite sustainable practice, either at home or maybe even in your work setting?
Yeah, for me, like I sort of have like maker spirit. Just you know, it's what I do, and so it's just like I always see the world as like a pile of parts. And so if you need something, then like you don't have to go online immediately and buy it. You can like think about like, okay, what is essentially the thing that you need, and like how do you break that down into like, okay, well, what do I have lying around, or like what can I ask friends for, or what can I like find and like repurpose. And so that's a huge part of how I live. And then just participating in like natural cycles of everything, so like compost and thinking about material flow and stuff like that. So
I love that. With woodworking, I imagine you're thinking a lot about temperature, because that like expands or contracts wood. And I just with instruments in general, even metal instruments, that impacts them. Like we're here in this very cool passive home that has this amazing like building envelope and seal and double paned windows and temperature control. I guess, how are you thinking about sort of the natural world, like the weather, the humidity, the temperature impacting your craft?
There's so much in this. Oh my God. So I mean, in the day-to-day, like we need to be paying attention to climate when we're working, because the instruments are so sensitive and like changes, and they're a living material. I mean, you know, wood is a dead tree, but like it's still a living material, so it's like breathing and expanding and contracting, as you were saying. But one of the places where it got really like real for me was like buying wood for the violins, I traveled to the places where they come from, like in the mountains and things like that.
Where is it that you source the wood? What mountains?
Yeah, so there's places in the U.S. and then there's also like places like traditionally where they come from in like Italy in the Alps or in the Dolomites in Italy and parts of Europe and Romania and like Baltics and things like that. But yeah, when I was out there, just seeing like what the what's going on with climate change up there and like how it's like these forests that have been there forever are like being devastated by just like and it's like so sensitive. So basically like in 2018 there was a big hurricane that went that far to northern Italy, which is like not normal. I guess it was a storm technically, but yeah, it trashed the mountains and then just had a cascading effect of like the trees fell that created more, stuff like decaying matter for the like these types of beetles to like go nuts and like decimate the forest. And so basically you look at the landscape and there's just like patches of dead forest everywhere. And so that's like a really scary like wake up call as far as like what's going on and
I'm Jacob Simon. I'm an environmental content creator talking about good news and positivity and reporting what's going right.
Love that. And I mean, joy is the best. I think I love the positivity you spread. It inspires me. And we're here at this very joyful event. So yeah, perhaps we can chat a little bit about that intersection of joy and sustainable living. But
totally.
To start off with, what does sustainable living mean to you?
That's a great question to start with. Joy is very inherent in sustainable living. I think at a high level, it basically just means living in a way that's harmonious with the planet and the people around you. And that's fun to do. I think there's a perception a lot of the time that you have to make a lot of sacrifices to be sustainable, both financially and just more of a burden. And it's a lot of the time the opposite, where you actually save money and you get to do cooler, more fun things. So yeah, I guess it's just making choices that keep the earth in mind and also, your community and future generations in mind as well.
A lot of big things to keep in mind.
Very true.
Do you have a favorite sustainable practice at home or in your daily life?
Favorite is always tricky to pick.
Top 10?
Top 10. Yeah, certainly. I love to dehydrate my excess fruits and vegetables and snack on them for like several weeks. It extends the life because when you suck out the moisture, it like basically prevents it from spoiling and growing mold. And I learned this practice while I was living on a goat farm in the desert. And this family I was staying with, they grew mangoes and they were the most amazing mangoes I've ever tasted. I literally could not stop eating them. They were so good. And they had way too many. So they would peel them and then cut them in a certain way and dehydrate them. So they taught me how to do that. Wow. And just for hours and hours on end, I was cutting these mangoes, like stealing a piece every time because I couldn't resist myself, and then dehydrating them. And they just had like a big jar of it. And you could add different like spices. I learned over the years, I did this with my family, tomatoes, so good dehydrated. It like amplifies the flavor. And then you can put like a little dried basil on top. Really good snack.
Sounds delicious.
It is.
Also not the origin story I expected for the dehydrating.
I stayed on the goat farm and I also stayed on a family's backyard that this family actually ran a circus, but they converted their backyard.
Of course they did.
Naturally, as one does. They converted their backyard to a farm to make money because their circus was closed because it was COVID and they couldn't run it. So they grew produce and like sold it in their community, and like it was literally a slice of heaven. There were grapes I stayed in a yurt in their backyard, and there were just grapes that like I could pick one off the vine and just eat it. And fresh fruit off the vine is so much better than anything store-bought.
Of course.
It was incredible.
Wow. I'm just lost in this desert tale.
I'll have to show you pictures sometime.
Incredible.
It was so much fun.
We're seeing here today, I feel like you've built a beautiful community around positivity and joy and tapping into seeing the optimism in things, even in really challenging situations and world circumstances and news. How do you see joy as that sort of connector or impacting your community?
I think climate can be dreadfully boring a lot of the time and negative, of course, but also very technical and confusing. And when I first started learning about the climate and the environment and taking courses, I was very weighed down by the reality of the situation, also just like this onslaught of information. And we were learning about some things going right, but not really talking about them that much. And some people will rise up to the occasion out of fear to protect themselves and their family and their communities. I'm not that kind of person. I feel like I would kind of shrink down and get a little paralyzed. But if I'm doing something fun with people that I like and we're making a positive impact, I'm going to keep doing it. And I'm going to want to get involved and continue this positive trend. So I kind of did it for myself and my classmates. That's where I started this journey. And as I focused more on the positivity and the joy and the things going right, other people resonated with it. And it was just kind of reaffirming that other people are like me. And we also want to have fun when we're doing this. And a lot of climate action is really fun. Like the first time I went to a climate protest, I was nervous. I was like, had a bit of imposter syndrome. Like I haven't really done that much for the climate. Like, should I be here? And then I went and it was just people like singing and dancing and a lot of people that looked like me and didn't look like me and all sorts of, walks of life. And we all had this common goal of raising attention for, ending fossil fuels. And I had so much fun in the moment. And then when I went home, I was just like so energized. I'm like, I want to do that again. Like, how can I recreate this feeling in other ways? And that definitely does stem from joy. And I think that it's hard to do anything if we don't enjoy doing it. Some things we have to do that we don't enjoy, cleaning our rooms and paying taxes and stuff like that. But if we can enact tactics that make us enjoy it more, then we're more likely to do it and then tell our friends about it and have this snowball effect. And I think that's what my community has been able to do, just sharing positivity with each other and boosting each other up. And even without my input at this point, they keep that good going, which is really cool to see. And I think it's a lot more powerful than kind of a fear tactic or we're doing this because we have to, or doing it because we want to and we care about it and we're enjoying it.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you spreading that joy because I think joy makes things more sustainable, right? Because we want to be living in a state of joy and enjoying the things we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we deserve to be happy too. I think I think there's this perception that environmental activists, we make all these sacrifices and we're miserable and we don't enjoy anything good. And it's that's not the case. We are normal people. You know what I mean? We also want to have fun and enjoy our lives and, have guilty pleasures and do things that aren't 100% sustainable all the time. We are just trying to make those sustainable choices more often than not. And that's all it takes. It's not an all or nothing kind of sacrifice. And the foods you eat and the products you buy, it's every time you do it, it's a vote in the right direction. But it doesn't mean because you make a mistake or you do something bad one time, it's over. It's a lifelong choice.
Hi, I'm Gina. I'm a hydroponics and science teacher in Brownsville. I also have an art studio in Bushwick where I create experiences around sustainable living.
That's amazing. Wow. Oh, I'm excited to learn more. What does sustainable living mean to you?
Sustainable living, to keep it simple, means longevity to me. Yeah. It means making sure you're healthy enough to deal with whatever you're trying to fight. I think that we focus on the environment and the planet and other topics, but a lot of us aren't really focused on how we're directly impacting ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very well said. I think hydroponics are so cool.
Thanks.
I did quite a few years ago, did some volunteer work on a hydroponics farm in a school, and it was just so fun, and I learned so much, and also getting to work with kids. I just think it's cool. I don't know what my... Thanks. I just think that's awesome.
I enjoy it.
What kind of things are you growing, I guess more specifically?
Currently, I'm growing basil, mustard greens, collard greens, lettuce, arugula, and I think we did a mystery plant when we find seeds around the classroom and we don't really know where they belong, so we don't want to put them back in anything, so we just plant them and hope for what we get. We'll figure it out. Because I think collard greens, mustard greens, and there's one more. They have the same type of seeds, the same color, so you really don't know what you're gonna get. So you're like, whatever. But yeah, that's what I'm growing now. I usually grow a vine crop system of cucumbers, and an amaranth, flowers, herbs. Yeah.
Amazing.
That's what you can grow in water.
And the ability to grow that year round, even in this cold weather we're having, is really wonderful.
I actually had an epiphany, but I don't know like how possible it is here in New York. It actually is possible. I just have to, I don't know, but turning a lot of these community gardens into indoor gardens, and I'm not saying replacing the entire space. I'm saying the space should be split between outdoor gardening and indoor gardening, because if the whole idea is to have a garden to feed the community, it should be year round. You know, it shouldn't be for 3 to 4 months. Then what does it become for the rest of the time if it's serving the community?
So let's talk a little bit about sort of indoor health. We're here in this passive solar house, and how are you thinking about different sources of potential indoor pollution and minimizing that exposure in your own home or in your workplace where you're working with kids, it sounds like?
Sources of indoor pollution?
Yes.
Our heating system. I grew up in a house with radiators, and it was old, rusted water, but it wasn't like mystery solution. You know, that's in a lot of these heating systems. What else? Just us doing something as simple as not taking our shoes off at the door. We track in so much stuff. I'm old school, so leather is really important to me. My mom, she was so extreme. She would say stuff to me like, if you wear my fake leather, your feet are gonna fall off. So like me and my brother, literally like, no, your feet will fall off. But a lot of the things that we sit on and the things that we use that our skin is exposed to is definitely pulling toxins into our bloodstream. And I think that that's a topic that's so overlooked. And even when you talk about having this stuff stored in your home, you know, if a lot of your clothes come from Shein and or a place that the fibers or the fabrics are not natural, you're actually collecting a source of non-toxic fumes in your home, and you don't even realize it, you know? You're storing it. Not only wearing it, but you're storing it, and it's off gases.
Absolutely. It's a really great point in terms of absorbing things through the skin. So whether it's cleaning supplies, personal care products, knowing the ingredients, and then clothes that have a lot of synthetic fibers and materials, which don't allow our skin to breathe
at all.
And then you put them in the washing machine and the microplastics end up in our waterways.
Absolutely.
And I think I even have some fun facts in my bowl here about this. But a huge amount of microplastics in the ocean comes from all of these synthetic clothes, and they're inside from fast fashion. And oh yeah, absolutely. And they're in our bodies.
Of us, and they're in our organs, our vital organs. And this is just, I think it's important that we know these type of things. Some other sources are some of our cookware. If we let our cookware get scratched up and we continue to use it, that extreme heat is coming out into our indoor breathing environment.
Cookware is a huge category for sure. Whether it's, Teflon-based coatings.
Off gases, things that you can't see, that's the issue. The biggest issue is the stuff that you can't see.